Welcome back, everyone. Not a very good time to be a Manchester United fan with everything that our rivals are doing, not just on the pitch, if you look at Chelsea winning the Club World Cup, but in terms of off the pitch as well, in terms of transfers. Only Mateus Cunha so far, the signing for Manchester United, which is not a very good thing. This weekend alone, we play our first preseason game against Leeds, and the squad looks quite the same from last season. No players have left the club, even though they are ostracized and won't be part of the tour. But that doesn't mean that we have the same team. Of course, there is changes in how Amarim might turn the team. There might be changes in terms of fitness, but we need to have new bodies coming into the team. Not just Brian and Boomo, who we'll talk about a bit in today's video, because there seems to be a problem with us getting a deal done with Brentford. But I want to make mention of the fact that we cannot get any players sold. I thought by now, and I think Ineos themselves probably thought that the likes of Rashford, Garnacho, Anthony, etc. would have been out of the door by now, and they would have probably wanted to use those funds by selling those players in order to fund the Brian Mpumo deal, in order to fund a deal for a striker, etc. We still are looking for a midfielder, and with Onana being injured for the pre-season, in a race to be final for the first game against Arsenal, that certainly does leave us with a problem in the goalkeeping department as well. Yes, we do have Bayern Durstel at the club, Tom Heaton. We of course have Eli Harrison from the academy, but it will be a problem for us if Andre Onana cannot be fit enough to start the season, because we might leave ourselves with a problem in the back line, because we know the issues that Bayern left us with, and he continually makes mistakes. Onana hasn't been the greatest goalkeeper since he's been to Manchester United, and of course we know Tom Heaton is probably, if you want to talk about it, over age. Maybe he could still be Manchester United's goalkeeper just to, keep the place quite warm for Onana if we do not end up going for the goalkeeper. But right now it looks like we're not going to be going for any players based on how the transfer window has gone. It has stalled. We stuck on the Brian Mbumo deal. Every report that has come out since the second bid was rejected is that we are only focusing on the Brian Mbumo deal. Brian Mbumo is the only focus for Manchester United, and it has left us with a bit of a problem, because we won't have him in before the pre-season tour. And if we do, I certainly would be surprised, because it's taken such a long time for us to even get to a point where the likes of Laurie Whitwell, David Ornstein, etc. are continually saying that there's a small gap in the evaluation between United and Brentford for Mbumo. If the gap is so small, just close it. Pay the money that is needed. Get the deal done. I don't understand why there is such a delay. It surely cannot be the factor that we are not getting players out of the door. Those players will be sold, in my opinion. I think clubs will still be coming in for them. It is a problem of how much they will offer us. And that's probably our own fault. I did say in the previous video that we are at the disadvantage by publicly putting it out there that these players are not wanted at Manchester United. So clubs will come in later on in the window with low ball offers, and we might be in a situation where we have no choice but to sell. As an example, we did put a 40 million price tag on Rashford, but Barcelona could come in and offer 25 million, and we would be in a position where we might find ourselves forcing ourselves to accept that offer. And of course, it's a huge loss. Yes, no doubt about it. But that is the situation that we find ourselves in. We're starting to look very desperate with the Brian Mbumo deal, because what if Brentford rejects the third bid? Do we bid again, or do we walk away? How will Man United look if we do bid again? I think we will be looking very, very desperate if that is the case. But if we walk away, that could be something that will help us in the long run. Yes, we won't get a Brian Mbumo, which is a proven tactical fit for Ruben Amorim's system, a proven Premier League player, scores goals, assists goals, is everything that we need for a player and a team where Amorim wants to take Manchester United. But again, if we walk away from the deal, we have to look at alternatives. We have to stand our ground and gain some sort of credibility again, where we can be strong in transfer negotiations. Because if we do walk away from the deal, a lot of clubs will realize, oh wait, Manchester United aren't joking around anymore. They're willing to lose players that can improve their team in order to get the deals that they need in the long run. Because when we do have other negotiations and that club has seen that we basically are willing to walk away from deals, the desperation will be on the other team's side because they will feel, oh no, Manchester United might walk away and we won't get the money that we want for the player that we are trying to sell. And for a club like Brentford, 60 to 65 million is a lot of money. They lost Thomas Frank, and yes, they did get money for him from Spurs. And yes, they've sold the players like Christian Norgard, etc. But still, their biggest asset, Brian Mbumo, brings in and can bring in the most money. So maybe United are playing a waiting game. Maybe they know that Brian Mbumo does want to come. Of course, publicly this has been put out there, but they know that he will start being agitated, irritated by being part of the training at Brentford, knowing, and the club knows, that he wants to go to Manchester United. So this is where his attitude comes into play. Does he push for a move since he's returned to Brentford's training now for pre-season? Does he kick up a fuss, in training, maybe not pushing as hard or etc., or showing, the new coaches that he certainly doesn't want to be here? These are factors that can help in the transfer negotiations, because if Brian Mbumo pushes Brentford to complete the deal, they might just be forced to accept the next offer that Manchester United does give them, whether that be 65 million, whether that be more than that, or even just under. The last bid we sent was 62.5 million, so 3 to 4 million. I'm sure Manchester United will be able to cough up that amount of money to meet the evaluation of Brentford. And like I said, Brentford might accept United's offer, which is lower than 65 million, based on how Brian Mbumo addresses himself in training. I certainly am getting worried, because having only one signing in is problematic, because now Amorim can't use the tactics that he would like to use and experiment with these tactics before the season starts, because he doesn't have all the players that he thought by now he would have in the team. Now, of course, it's a bit, wishful thinking to have thought that by the first preseason game we'd have 3 to 4 signings in. But on the other hand, it is expected that we at least would have gotten Cunha and Mbumo in, because Cunha was done before the preseason of the transfer window started. And Mbumo, basically, we've already put in 2 bids. He was supposedly supposed to have his medical 2 weeks ago, according to the likes of Alex Crook from Talksport, but that didn't materialize. So that shows that there is a delay, and it will be detrimental to Manchester United and Ruben Amorim if we don't get these players in before the preseason, and of course when the season starts. I don't want to be in the same boat next year where we find ourselves literally looking to try and stay away from the bottom. No, we cannot have that. Manchester United must be at least competing at the top of the table, and surely they must be in top 4, top 6 at least. Anything less than that for me is a failure, because based on where we are right now, I don't expect us to go and challenge for the league. No, not right now. But I do expect us to at least compete with the teams at the top. I at least expect us to show a change in our performances compared to last season. We finished 15th last season, only made 1 signing so far. You can't really call Diego Leon a signing, because he was signed during last season already. We knew he was going to be a player, so that should and does not count. It's only Matheus Cunha, and that is a problem for Ruben Amorim. We need to see the Brian Mbumo deal getting done. Manchester United surely need to make the right moves to get that deal done, so that we can start focusing on other deals, because you're losing out in terms of the striker options. The likes of Vlahovic is the only one that's available because Liverpool are chasing Ekitike. As I said, Arsenal already signed Gyökeres. Osimhen has made his decision and is probably going to Galatasaray. What are the other striking options? Are we really going to be left with a Calvert-Lewin, a Callum Wilson, and a Jamie Vardy, who basically are all 3 free agents and are not wanted by any club in the Premier League? Yeah, that is basically how dark it is for Manchester United right now. But let me know what you think in the comment section, of course. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you for joining me in today's video. Have a wonderful day further. Till we see each other again soon in the next one, Red Devils. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. If you want more content on Manchester United, like, share and subscribe.